Our viewers live what happens. Madison Scarpino in West Palm Beach, thank you so much. And out of this, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is in hot water over fraud in his state. Now one lawmaker is fighting back with the Walz ACT. Congresswoman saying the Walz ACT is named for a reason, to ensure this level of negligence can never be repeated anywhere else in America. This bill puts safeguards in place to protect taxpayer dollars, shut the door on scam artists, and bring real accountability back to government programs. The Small Business Administration also taking action. SPA Administrator Kelly Loeffler announcing on X, today, IAM informed Governor Tim Walz especially is pausing $5.5 million to Minnesota pending further review. Pressure is also building at the local level, speaking out of saying policies are hurting their residents. Greater than within the last 3 months this has really gone downhill. And Brian, if we do the quick math, $9 billion in fraud divided by 5.79 million Minnesotans comes out to roughly $1,500 a person that each Minnesotan, a hardworking Minnesotan, has had stolen from them from the Walz and administration and the policies coming out of St. Paul. Greater than I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, I am a Minnesotan, and I'm frustrated with how it happened. As well as the communication that has happened. So really our mayors are joining together not to point fingers and blame, but we are here to help solve the problem. That is what we do. Greater than Griff. Joining me now, New York State Assemblyman Jake Bloom and Krantz. Jake, thanks for being here. When you see what is happening in Minnesota and you look at how widespread the fraud was, what is the situation here in New York? Greater than absolutely. Griff, thank you for having me on. Situation in New York, let's say Minnesota would be the tip of the iceberg for what we see in a large blue state like New York. Fraud has gone on rampant for many decades, and in order to uninstitutionalize it we need a solution that will fundamentally change the way that we investigate. So we introduced a bill called the Stamp Out Fraud ACT here in New York. I have been working hard on making sure, it is simple, 3 separate ways we can help fix the problem. Institute new technologies and ways we can investigate, mandate investigations, and one agency I saw 35,000 cases reported, less than 30 were actually leading to arrests, so we are not seeing investigations, greater than Griff, 35,000, only 30. Greater than only 24 lead to arrests. At the end of the day we need to see real punishment, so increase the penalties to frauds. People don't think defrauding the American people or the people of New York would lead to a slap on the wrist. Needs to be real jail time. Greater than Griff. When you see the hot water Governor Walz is in Minnesota, do you think New York Governor Kathy Hochul can face the same scrutiny? Greater than 100% absolutely nothing. Governors in blue states that have been neglecting to actually tackle fraud and neglecting the conversation about affordability. What the individual was just saying, this number, it adds up for people, whether it is in health insurance, fraud, premiums, all insurance fraud. In New York, there is a building for fraud. We need to look at investigate fraud all across government and the way the government's neglecting to protect the taxpayers not just of New York but everyone in America. Greater than Griff. The mayors in Minnesota, 100 of them wrote a letter to the governor and you heard that one mayor sort layout, based on the amount of fraud, $9 billion, broke it down per resident, it's about $1,500 per resident in Minnesota that they actually paid for that fraud. Do you have any idea what those numbers might look like in New York? Greater than on an actual level I've seen some interest groups say something in the order of $1,000 a year in your insurance premiums is built-in cost for fraud. Imagine what that looks like in a state in New York with the highest rates in the nation. In comparison, Minnesota's entire budget is only $66 billion. That $100 billion just for Medicare and programs here in New York. Imagine how much bigger the number is on the size and scale of the place like that. Greater than Griff. When you see Congresswoman Miller Meeks trying to introduce this Walz ACT and SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler, do you see something like that, something that could actually help New York put on a national level? Greater than I entered politics for one simple reason. We need accountability in government that works for taxpayers. I've been trying to get this fight into the spotlight for a long time. Something like the removal of funds from a state sheds light on this topic and sheds light on investigations. I think we need to start taking this very seriously and first steps in a long road to make sure the American taxpayers are held to the highest standard possible. Greater than Griff. Bottom line, I will just ask you lastly, do you think Governor Hochul here in New York may be aware that some of this exists that has chosen not to act on it? Greater than I think we have to look very carefully as to how she acts now because people are paying attention and I want the information out there, the accountability out there and I want her to know that we are on watch. Greater than Griff. Assemblyman, thank you for being here. We look forward to covering what happens here in New York because if